All right, everybody, welcome back to the DAM Formula One podcast. My name is Matt Monty. I am joined, as always, by David and Austin here. So it's been a while since we've done a podcast. We're about 2 weeks out from the start of I Cannot Believe season 5. We've all stuck around long enough for this to be a thing, which is pretty crazy. While I introduce these guys, first of all, I want to say congratulations to Austin Real, my teammate from last year. Congratulations to us on winning the Constructors, Team Ferrari. Very well done, guys. Congratulations to
Congratulations.
us. Very
Yep.
good. If you're familiar with the league's history, you know that is a lie. Ferrari has not won the Constructors' Championship. That distinction goes to Aston Martin currently, which is one of the returning teams, the only team that has no changes, which is pretty cool, guys.
This gonna be an interesting good with everything mixed up. We got a lot of fast drivers and everybody's in different spaces, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, it's a bigger grid or big changes happen to the grid, and sounds like we've got an even tougher grid this season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be awesome. So, just a quick recap here on the end of the season. So, congratulations in all seriousness to Aston Martin on their achievement on winning the Constructors' Championship. Matthew Painter led the team. He was third place in the Constructors, 137 points. Doug O'Brien, sixth place, 103 points. Really impressive stuff from both drivers there. It's going to take two to win championships. Nowadays, it seems like it's a lot more difficult for one person just to be the carry, unless you're Max Verstappen, of course. First time since season one that the drivers' champion didn't also win the constructors' championship. So, like I said, a little less weight on the on a single driver to carry the team there. So, congrats to those two who are returning. Also returning is Kyle Spies, who is our defending drivers' champion now. He ended Keaton's reign of terror at the top there. Spies and Tyler Davis did tie on points at the end of the year with 196, which is a ton, 60 more than the next person. But Spies won with the tiebreaker based on his placements in the races.
That's
Uh,
crazy that we had a season end in a tie
uh,
off a tiebreaker. It's wild to think about.
yeah, the last race of the season, it feels really good when the last couple races really mean a lot. That
Yeah.
happened especially. I remember that happened obviously last season. It happened to me with the Rookie of the Year rating. It was cool just to have like those things matter for different people, whether it's for drivers' championship, constructors' championship, where you're at in the standings, who's going to get
Who's
eliminated.
not getting eliminated?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so which we're
Yeah,
going to get
get
to now, which
eliminated.
yeah, which is Haas, who finished in last place last year, which was Richard and Zach. So it's pretty wild to watch Mercedes try and battle through there, and Mercedes overtook Haas at the end of the year last year to stay
Literally.
free from relegation. Yeah, so very
Literally
good.
took his jersey.
That's right. Take the pink slips. With that, Spies, I mentioned again, won the most races, five total, and was the winner of the USA Tour, which I thought was a pretty nice little touch.
Yep.
Francois, who we miss a lot, hopefully he gets to listen to this episode. I'll be sure to tag him in it. He still sticks
Yep.
around the Discord if you've seen him in there. Francois had the most fastest laps with five total, so I'm sure a few people are happy that Francois is not on the grid. But I assume we'll see Francois. Hopefully next season we'll get him back in some capacity, which is he was an awesome addition last year. Sad to see him gone. What else we got on here? So Passy finished a race with the fastest lap for the first time in his career at Miami, which is that's a pretty polarizing race for a lot of people. Some people love the
Yeah.
course, like me. Other people hate the course, like whoever that one guy is that said, "I'm not racing in Miami in the off-season
Oh
races." I don't know
yeah.
if you remember who that was, but I'm like, "Okay, dude, it's just an off-season race, partner. Like, just sit one out then,
That was his
motherfucker.
only race.
Whatever.
That was his
Yeah,
only race with us.
feel free to sit one out then. That's fine." And then our buddy on the podcast here, Austin Real, won a race for the first time in his career. Ferrari
That's right.
taking down Monza
Yep.
in the F2 cars. Pretty impressive stuff considering the issues that our team had last year. But it was awesome to see him get on the podium there.
Yeah, I wish we could race with F2 cars every week. I think I do all right.
I mean, you certainly can. It's just not a thing that we're going to do here, but you certainly can. I, I don't know that we will ever race F2 cars again in the S&S League, but things change, so who knows really. All right.
Hey, nothing wrong with.
Real quick, let's pause here because I think Real's a guy who everybody knew had the talent to win a race. It kind of just depends on how much he throws himself into the game. Like he has the pace and everything like this. that being said, it was still kind of a surprise to see him get a win last year. It was just a very tough grid, and the guys that we have at the top and everything. Who's one guy from the grid this year that you see sneaking out a win that we don't expect?
Real, I'll let you go for this first if you want to go for it.
Give me 1 second to even. I have not thought about that too much quite yet, but
Yeah, yeah,
let
that's
me.
a good question though. I mean, I can fire one out. I think
Yeah.
this could be the year where a rookie actually wins a race. I see Pete's always online. And I know some of these guys are pretty quick. I think Barrett is the other one that's relatively quick who I've seen in the off season. I think it might be a year where a rookie can win a race. I know Spies was maybe technically a rookie, but
Yeah,
that's kind of a different beast. But
yeah,
but these guys are like I would say, and this is not meant to be offensive, and if it is, whatever, take it however you want. But they're middle of the pack guys, and I
yeah.
mean I'm a middle of the pack guy, so like whatever it is, what it is.
Yep.
Um, I
Middle of the
think
pack's fast. I don't
yeah, the,
care.
the middle pack is very fast, and I think it's going to be jumbled. I think there's going to be some messy shit that goes on, especially the
Yep.
first race of the season. We've had,
Early.
I,
Yep.
I want to say the maximum we've had in the off-season races, which is good, is like 13, somewhere in that neighborhood for off-season
Yeah.
races.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're adding 7 more people to that. Half. We're adding 50%
Yeah.
more people, and it gets crazy. I know the back portion falls off eventually, but the first several laps are nuts, and especially turn one, especially after we've just run a short quali. Like shit happens, man. People bump into each other. People spin out. People lose. People
We're
crash
we're
out.
we're
Uh,
2 sprint races this year that could shake things up.
yeah, there's a lot of variables, and there's not to mention there's weather and whatever else there is, different starting strategies and things like that. I really think, and especially now at the top of the grid, where there's guys like Painter and Doug, there's Keaton and Spees, there's all these people that are like super fast. Um, like even Rish, who we're just like gonna totally forget about until he wins a race. You know what I mean? And we got all these people that are super fast. And it's gonna be the first time, in my opinion, where they're really like racing the whole time. They're
Yeah,
racing.
I
They're
think
they're
so.
racing for like 15 laps. They're wheel to wheel, rather than like 5 to 8 laps of a 70 lap race.
Yeah, granted, we're only doing 5 lap races this off season. Um, I really can't, and anybody who's been in any of them will agree with me. I cannot overstate how close they have been. And I understand for 5 laps, it's easy to stay pretty close, but it's like, dude, every time, like, say we have 8 guys on, we'll qualify, do a one-shot qualify, and the top 7 will all be within a second of each other, if not a half a second of each other. And we will finish every race with all 7 or all 8 guys within 2 to 3 seconds of each other. Like, they have just been absolutely insane this year. And I think that, like, there's going to be a fall off. Like you just can't help it. There's always a bit of a fall off, but that top to middle is just going to be absolutely insane. But anyway, to finish this question, Real, do you have somebody for a surprise win?
Yeah, after I said it to give me a minute, I literally had it in about 1 second. So I mean, there's three names that really pop out to me the most, and I think one of them, I don't think he's won yet. I'd have to go back and look, but the one that popped out the most to me was Bamonte. I mean, he's got the speed, and we all know he's got the speed. So if he just puts it together for one race, stays consistent, stays out of trouble, I don't think there's any doubt that he could win a race.
Yep,
Um, and then I think Doug would have a shot as well. He's just got to he's I think getting faster, and I think we're seeing those improvements, or at least you guys have in these off-season races. So I know he's been close. He's been on the podium a few times. So and then the last one would be I don't think he's won yet, but I think it's Richard. And you might have the stats up, so you can maybe double check that. But um, Richard has like 8 second place finishes, so uh,
yeah,
he's
very
he's got
fast.
definitely has the potential to win. So those would be my three names.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I do have the stats up. Myself, I have a second place finish as my highest finish. Looking at Richard, he has 6 second place finishes and 2 third place finishes, so never a win for either of us. So yeah, that is accurate. And Doug has 2 third places. So
Yeah, I think my guy that I would choose to come out and get one this year would, I always kind of go back to Brills just because he's just a smart driver. He's consistent, and like we were saying, I think that that's something that can always get you a win if things kind of fall in your direction. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think Brills, I think Richard, I think Doug. Those are the guys that stick out to me.
Yeah, and Adam has a first place. He
Oh,
has a
does he?
he does have a
Yeah, he
win.
was last season.
It was last season. Yes, he won Baku, I believe it was.
Oh, then fuck
Let me
Adam.
verify. Yes, he did win Baku. Yeah, I'm glad you participated last year, dipshit. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
no problem.
yeah. Actually, so
Yeah,
so last year that's a great race actually, Phil. Brills was first place. Tyler Davis was second, and then Keaton was third. So, and then my buddy Austin Real was fourth. So that's a pretty solid one to win there. I guess especially when you're racing against those guys. And Baku's
it's a
not
tough track.
an easy track. Um,
Yeah.
and you know what's funny is Baku is one of the ones that started off wet and ended up dry actually.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
So
yeah, that was wild.
so a crazy one. I know
That's why I don't remember it.
Real sent me a photo the other day of Baku, and it said how to scare Ferrari drivers, and it was literally the castle section of Baku, and I was like, yeah, that's definitely accurate. So good shouts on those gents. So what's really cool, guys? Obviously you're listening to this now. If you are in the Discord, which you obviously are, if you're listening to this, if you hop in, and thanks again to Austin Real for always doing the stats on this. If you hop in and you go to the left side and you're navigating, you go to General Resources. I have pinned on there that spreadsheet. It's called like SNS F1 driver tracking
All the way at the
information.
top, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
towards
there's
the
only
top,
yeah, it's
top
only
part.
pins there, okay? And what it is, it's amazing. There's a spreadsheet. It's literally the entire existence of the league. It's got every single season, podium history, records, all that stuff. So if you're like a nerd of the leagues or nerd of history kind of stuff like that, stats. If you're a hashtag stats guy like Matthew Painter, you can go check out you can go check out these spreadsheets that Real maintains, and it's awesome to see kind of where everything shook out over the last several years. So that's kind of where I'm referencing, where all three of us
Yeah,
are
we were
referencing
literally
information from.
just before we started recording, we were just naming off some of the names of guys that we've had here in the past, and it's already fun to reminisce and things like that over the seasons that we've had.
Yeah, definitely fun. So we had a kind of a chaotic off season this year. It kind of went a little bit against what we usually do, but I'm going to let David talk about the league structure as we go forward, which we will talk about. And again, on these things, guys, it's not just like the three of us make all the decisions. We do make a fair amount of them, but if there's things you can think of to improve the league or any suggestions you may have for the structure, definitely let us know in the comments section or on the video here. But without anything else, I'm gonna let David go over the structure for the new guys here.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep this pretty basic. I know a lot of our guys have heard this before, but this is something, again, that's in that general resources. And we are actually going to go in this season and really, really kind of tweak and go over with a fine tooth comb just to make sure that everything is exactly how we want it to be from what we've learned over these first four seasons. And we really want to just stick to this off-season structure moving forward. And I think what's kind of fun about this is these will kind of become our set rules that we can just leave. And then whenever it becomes like that and they're set, people can use them in whatever ways they need to. Essentially, it's a very normal thing in F1 to try to figure out the rules to the best of your ability as far as like getting the driver you want for next season and things like this. And I want to express that through our league as well. So, just going to run down quickly what our basic off-season structure is and how it should work. So we obviously put a big focus on the constructors championship. We liked, everybody to kind of think of it as a team sport. And so the bottom team in the constructors will get eliminated at the end of the year, whichever team has the least amount of points. What that means is those two drivers will become free agents. And then, as you guys know by now, we have all of our team principals, and then all the other drivers are considered seat two drivers. Whichever one of those seat two drivers scores the most points this season, they will take over that eliminated team. So, for instance, if let's say Ferrari were to get eliminated, and let's say Hayden was the top seat two driver, then Hayden would take over Ferrari. Matt and Garrett would immediately be free agents, and then based on some rules we have in place, you would actually be able to, at that point, anybody can opt out of their team to become a free agent. If you're a seat two driver, and we have a order of rules set in place to where we will do a draft after that to get each player or each driver back onto a team. But that's how we kind of mix it up each year. If a lot of people just want to stay on their team, it should only change up a few teams, which is kind of nice. You can kind of start to build some history. But at the same point, if you're on a team that you don't want to be on, there are ways usually to get out of it, but not always. And we can go into this in more detail at any time throughout the season in the Discord.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add on that. Just again, if you're the bottom team, you're a free agent. A lot of movements still happens at the end of the year. And it's always like, if you want to team up with your buddies, there's always ways to make that happen, like David said. So I would get familiar with that kind of stuff if you haven't already taken a peek. But there's tons of good information in there, so make sure to check that out. Really got anything to add on that or no?
No, just I guess really piggyback off you saying if anyone's got any ideas or anything that they want to put forward, don't think that you can't. Obviously, we'll be willing to listen to anything and consider any ideas that you have that can improve the league.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. With that, I'm gonna move on to the new drivers and teams portion here. So I'm gonna just kind of machine gun these things out here, and we'll kind of elaborate on each team as we go, which is kind of what we wanted to do to get a good overview of the season before we start. So the big one, Tyler Davis is switching to Mercedes, and then he signed Jordan Hersey. So you guys got any strong feelings on the new Mercedes team? David, are you upset that they're Mercedes now? They taken over?
No, Tyler's a really good driver. As much as we like to give each other a hard time, I like to see him in a Mercedes. It's really cool. I did think he was going to try to grab maybe a bigger name and try to immediately make a push for the championship because he's been so close so many times. But I'm glad that he took a rookie because he's a great guy to have to teach somebody that's newer and things like this. And yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's a good fit.
Cool.
I was gonna say from experience, I got to team up with Tyler back a few seasons ago, and he's a great teammate to have that you can learn from, and he's obviously one of our better drivers. I was kind of shocked that he went to Mercedes, but it'll be a good fit for Jordan, and I'm excited to watch those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think something big for me on these as we go through these teams is like so we have I think 5 rookies. Is that right? So half of the teams have rookies on them.
Yes.
I'm interested to see where they start because obviously that's like they're where they're at the lowest, and then where they end in the season, how they get to how they grow. Because again, the first race you can think you know all kinds of shit, right? And the first race starts, and the adrenaline dump hits, and you're like, oh my god, I forgot to put it in gear to
Yep.
start the fucking race. You know what I mean? That happens. It just
Yep.
does, and it happens to veterans and rookies and the same. And it's just one of those things that you don't know until you know, and you're in the middle of it when you got to make judgment calls and things like that. But like you guys mentioned, Tyler's a great. I mean, he was literally tied for the constructor or for the drivers championship, excuse me, last year, and he's definitely on the short list of people I'd want a rookie to be paired with.
Yeah, the one thing I'll tell all rookies, obviously we have like Pete has played the game plenty, but guys like Garrett, he knows this. Jordan, Barrett, and Brett. Like I know Barrett knows Paul, and Brett came in and he knows Nick, but I'm not joking at all. Reach out to anybody with questions in this
Yeah,
group. Don't be afraid to just throw stuff in the general chat. Like even if it's just like, hey, how do I do this? Where do I need to go? Like stuff like this. Like you will not find a group of guys that is more willing like to help and stuff like that because all we want is for you to want to immerse yourself in the league as much as we do. Like it's just more fun the more involved people are. And obviously we all have lives and things like that, but like you're not going to put any of us out by asking because I'm telling you like we come back to the group and we're like, "Hey, like these three guys are super engaged. Like this is going to be sick. Like that's the way we look at it. So everybody here, not just us, But anybody in the Discord, super happy to help with anything you need.
Yeah, for sure. All right, on to the next one. So we'll move on to Red Bull, which is Tyler's previous team. So Red Bull, obviously they have a hole to fill, and Troy is going to take over the principal seat. And again, another rookie with Brett Gepka as the rookie there for Red Bull, and they have a pretty decent little legacy to hold up as we've gone through the years. They've kind of made a name for themselves.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, we've talked about this a few times. Troy is a guy who has been in the league since the beginning. He's a guy that there's everybody loves having Troy, and I know exactly what Troy's thinking right now. He's cracking a joke, being like, "Oh yeah, because I come behind them and they love it, blah blah blah." Honestly, it's just like the same thing with being immersed in the league and everything like that. Having Troy involved and like when he's participating and when he's running fives with us and shit, like it's just what makes it fun. Like we all love having him here and stuff like that. So I'm excited for him to have a rookie with him and see where these guys can go. And like we know, to call a spade, like we know it's going to be a battle between like four teams at the bottom to escape elimination, and these guys are going to be in it, and that's fun to try to avoid that, honestly.
Yeah, it's speaking
Yeah.
from experience from myself and Real, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to not be
Mm,
eliminated last year. We gained some breathing room like midway through the season, but our season was an absolute fucking nightmare to start last year. I want to say we had 1 point through 4 races, and and then I think I got like fourth or third or something like that in Vegas, and we were like, we can like breathe a little bit. You know what I mean? Because 12 points is a shitload. I don't care who what the team is. That's a lot of points when you're battling in like the top excuse me top four, the bottom four. Like 12 points is like some people's whole seasons. So you'll get that way. And again, it's a long season, so you got to kind of take the goods with the bads.
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
let's
say
get
we.
fun. I was just gonna say I want to be careful about going too much because I really want to talk about this elimination kind of group, so to speak, when we get down to kind of who's battling who.
Yeah,
So if we want to run through those teams, I definitely do want to
Yeah,
continue to elaborate on those.
Real, what you
yeah,
got?
go through them. I was just gonna say, speaking about Troy real fast, that uh, the fact that he has stayed in the league as long as he had is awesome. Because the thing that I like to see the most, obviously he hasn't had, you know, crazy great performances or anything like that, but watching his improvements is one of those
Yep.
things that like when he does secure a point, you're gonna have the entire league just lose their
Yeah.
shit. Like that's gonna be one of the coolest moments in this league. And so just seeing him stick it out and keep
Dude, and
improving is one of the best parts of this league.
there have been several times where when Troy is practicing and actually like joining in on races and shit like that, like when he kicks it into season mode and he starts practicing and stuff like that, I remember several times being on track and having trouble getting around him and having to fucking
And
keep him off me when he gets DRS. Like, I mean, he really got going for a while, and I think if he gets back to that level, he's gonna be just fine. He'll be scoring points.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, so the big move of the offseason, the Dodgers, I'm sorry, Alfa Romeo signed Kyle Spies and Keaton are both on that team now.
Alpha Romeo.
You know, and I get it. I get it. But that's the team with a target on their back, in my opinion. Other than Aston Martin, so I don't have a lot to add on that for now. Just that's kind of my feelings on that one.
I love this team. I think that Speeds being a seat two driver, he's definitely a favorite to take over a team next year. There's no doubt that the I mean you have the last three drivers championships have been won by these two guys.
Yeah.
So it's like you're expected to win. Everybody knows that. Speeds is expected to win the top driver too. This should be the most dominant season we've seen from a single team. Um, like that's just what this like. I kind of like that aspect of it. Like Speeds is probably going to win top seat too. It might be between him and Pete, maybe I guess him and Richard would be a good one. Um, maybe him and Doug, but it's like that you might as well go all out and try to get as dominant of a season put together as you can for 1 year.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. So Alpine, again. So Paulie's gonna be on Alpine in that nice little pink outfit, and he's with Barrett Powers, who I was not there present the other night, but I heard Barrett's pretty quick, so maybe you guys can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, man, he's pretty fast. I was talking to Paulie the other day, and he said that I always see him playing F1 Manager too, so he's definitely an F1 guy. I've talked a little bit F1 with him in the group. He's a cool dude to talk to. And yeah, dude, the other night, this is what I've noticed is there's a few times where early on when I raced with him, again, these are just five lappers, but um, I think he would have like some incidents early in the race. And I just in the back of my head probably was like, oh, like he's a newer guy. He's just been in the back of those couple races and then like the next three races, he was fighting right up with the top guys. And as you all know, I get pretty high before these races, so who knows how much of this is legit. But I remember him battling up with some of the top guys, and I just remember being like, "Oh, wait a second, this guy actually has a lot of pace. I think he just had a few fuck ups early on. Like I think he's gonna be pretty good."
Cool. I'm going to keep it moving then as we proceed here. So Passy becomes the principal driver of AlphaTauri, and he signs again, kind of an unsung hero, Mitch Rischko, as he decided to opt out of the principal seat with McLaren. So Rish is a humongous addition to any team. I think anybody would be happy to have him. So good for Passy to get that signing done and throw all the
Passy was
money at Rish.
yeah, Passy was like Tommy DeVito's agent over the, or yeah, is that his name?
Yeah.
Over the off season. He went in and scooped up a big fish, and I heard he was giving out some pretty good sales pitches and snagged Rish, which is a huge one. And I'll tell you what's huge about this is we have a reserve driver this year, and he's a very legit reserve driver. So, I mean, we do have rules in place, so he's not necessarily abused by one team, but at the same time, if they're the only ones with an opening, he can race there over and over if nobody else has an opening. So, if the only guy that doesn't show is Rish, Cassie's going to have a partner every week. Like that's huge, and that's two good drivers. So
Yeah.
that's could be a huge signing.
Yeah, and having a reserve that's talented, obviously, to fill someone like Briscoe's shoes kind of makes sense, and will keep uh, the league how it should be because Briscoe's when he's out there, he's one of the best that we have.
Well,
Uh,
what's going to be crazy is if he gets, the first 2 or 3 weeks he has that reserve, and then you get one guy that drops from the league, and that reserve becomes a full time driver, and then all of a sudden your whole season depends on when Rish's kids go to bed.
Whoa, we're not going to put that out into the universe about people dropping from the league, buddy. All right, let's take that off your what do they call them? Vision boards. Take that shit off your vision board.
No. You always account for at least one, and
Yeah.
it happened last year, and hasn't happened this year. So we're very happy with where we are right now, and I really really hope to keep. I was thinking about this before we got on with all the rookies. Is that first year when you truly haven't played the game before, and you have your first year in the season? Um, it doesn't take long to find out. Like you will hate it a lot because you're going to get hit, you're going to get taken out, you're going to fuck up somebody else's race, somebody's going to fuck up your race. There's a lot of bad times. But it's also like the most fun thing you could do on a Wednesday at 8 o'clock if you actually get 18 plus drivers on the grid. And it's a fucking blast and it's super addicting, especially when you start to get points and things like that.
Yeah.
So I really hope these guys stay with it because
Yeah.
we've had a lot of rookies stay with it and absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I
You,
was gonna mention
go ahead.
real quick that like if you find yourself being one of those rookies or one of those guys in the back, uh, don't get frustrated and think that you need to quit. One of the things that I would do if I was outside the top 10, especially, is pick someone around you that's just around. They might have done better than you a race here. There's some back and forth. Pick somebody and make that your mission to beat them, and then watch yourself improve because you're gonna eventually keep getting better and better. I mean, we watch guys like Matthew Painter. Uh, he was 5 through 10, or even below that his first year in the league, and now he's a top five guy because he just continued to put the work in and improve. So, don't get too frustrated and don't give up. Just keep grinding and getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say something to do is be realistic with yourself. And I've already expressed it to Garrett as like my goal for you is not to be top five because it's not realistic. Unless you're going to sink a ton of time in. My goal is for him is just to finish races. Like if you
Yep.
keep all four tires on the fucking pavement, dude, like that's good enough for me. Because again, like I mentioned, things happen. People spin out. People crash. There's late safety cars. Please, God help me, late safety cars. But there's always something. There's always something that goes on where you're like, oh my God, I'm in 11th place. Like all I need to do is hold on a little bit longer. You know what I mean? There's always those things for you to get some points. And again, we mentioned it is like, how sweet is it when you get your first point? You just kind of build from there. So.
Yeah, there's we've tried to implement several things in the league just to keep kind of guys engaged and give you something to fight for at every point. So again, any single point you score contributes to your team. Your team can get eliminated after if you're at the bottom, so it's very important to try to score for your team. But as a rookie, absolutely your goals should first off, like every single person in this league was just as slow as you are now if you're just starting, because we were terrible when we first started. And it's just exactly like Matthew said, like or like Matt said, is like you just want to finish races. Like
Yep.
you just need to. Your goal for your first season is just to learn the game, and the longer you stay on the track, the more you can learn. So your whole goal is just to finish every race, which is a very hard thing to do. It's not easy, and a lot of times it's out of your hands. But just get on track as much as you can. I promise you'll get better, and it is a lot of fun whenever you stick with it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we talked about Rish, who was the principal of McLaren. His teammate Adam Brills. With that vacancy, Adam Brills gets promoted to team principal, and he signed Pete Norris, who is a rookie by definition, but by experience, there's we would never classify Pete as a rookie. He's done very well for himself in these off-season races, super engaged and things like that. Definitely my dark horse team for the year.
Yeah, McLaren's nasty. It seems like especially at the start of the season, I feel like the guys that are in those 5 lap races, you've been on track a little bit more. You've been racing around people a little bit more. I feel like early in the season, those can pay off. And McLaren's a team that almost always both guys are there and they're always finishing somewhere near the top. Both drivers are very, very dangerous. Pete is very fast. Just to give you a frame of reference on where Pete's stock is right now, I would say every off-season race, it's him and Matthew Painter are battling wheel to wheel through the entire thing. So
Yeah.
he's a very fast driver. Um, this is a very dangerous team for sure.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to move along to our compadre Austin Real, who has became the principal of Williams Racing, and he's reunited actually with Richard Simpkins, who was like we mentioned in the history of the league. You can go look this up. Season one, they were together on Shy Racing Team. So I'll let Real talk us through that a little bit. How excited are you to reunite with Richard?
Yeah, I mean it's something when we got to the process of being able to sign free agents, where when I saw the list of people available, I knew I had to send one message and one message only. Uh, we never got a chance to defend that title, and while we're not the favorites to be able to win and get that title back, I'm excited to reunite with him and just have a fun year racing again, because that was the intro for me into this league and what really got me hooked. So very excited for that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. There's something really cool about about being a teammate with somebody. Like so, Real and I have had the honor of being each other's teammates for the last little bit here. And what I'll say is, there's always like that little piece of you that cheers for your teammate, even if you're like, man, fuck them. I hope they finish behind us. It was cool for me to see him reunited with Richard, someone I know he has a good relationship with, and Richard's quite fast himself. And they're another team that I'd be on the lookout for. Very under the radar. They're in a Williams. I mean, come on. So, but the thing is that they have two guys that are capable of winning any race at any time, and that is one of those things where if they're consistent enough about it, and they push each other, definitely a force. So I'm excited to see that pairing come up again. It was definitely one of my favorites to see happen on the grid. So I'm definitely excited for that. Dave, you got anything on Williams?
No, I mean I love that these guys are coming back together. I think it's very cool. I think it's awesome, and it's cool to see that history kind of come back into the
Yeah.
grid.
Yeah, spinning the block, for as they say, so that's cool. So with Real's departure from Ferrari, that left an open seat on my team, and I have signed a rookie. Garrett Allen is filling that seat. Garrett is extremely new to F1. If you asked him to name all 10 teams, I'm not sure that he could do that a month ago. So he's very green, but he's definitely a gamer. And he's excited to race. He's been pumped up about it for a while. So I'm excited to take a rookie under my wing. I feel like that's like part of my civic duty as we go through the league is like if there's new people or if they got questions that's like falls on me a little bit, which is why I was certainly interested in snagging a rookie. I mean, I won't lie, I reached out to everybody at the beginning because that's what you do, right? You want to make sure you put your feelers out and see where people are going. But people had the couple people I did mention that I did reach out to were happy with where they're going to go. So then my focus was to snag a rookie, and what better one to take than someone who's brand new, into Ferrari, and we're gonna do what we can this year. The expectations are obviously pretty low for our team, but I think Garrett's gonna do a good job, and I'm hoping that Garrett can score some points before the season's over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
go
Go ahead.
ahead, David.
I think it's cool that you guys obviously know each other in general, and I think that we kind of talk about what's our target market, so to speak, for the guys that we're trying to get into the league. And when we're talking about these guys that are brand new to the game, these are some of my favorite guys to get, not just because um, they're new and they're maybe not as fast. Like that's really not why we get them. What's nice about getting these guys is that I feel like we do have a lot of fun things to offer with this league. And so if you can kind of get them hooked in our league and what we do and kind of build us up around it, we've seen several new guys that are new to F1 stay with the league and like it just because the league itself is very fun. So I hope that's what Garrett gets out of it. I hope he has fun with it. And I think this is a very, very good group as far as the newer F1 fans we have, the guys that know some stuff that some of the other guys don't know, and then we have kind of veteran guys to answer questions that are, a little trickier or whatever it may be. So it's a good spot to become an F1 fan. Even if you're just in it for the gaming at this point, we watch the races and talk throughout the races every in qualifying every week and things like that. When the season comes around, we always announce the teams coming out. So it's a good spot to like if you're Garrett or if you're Jordan and you kind of get into this as we're playing and you want to get a little bit more into F1, hop in the group and talk more because it's a good way to stick with it.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to see Garrett much in this off season, or I don't know how good he's really doing right now. But I can promise that he could not ask for a better teammate. And Matt, and just trying to learn the game and strategize and talk those things through, because no one's going to put more time into that than Matt. And so he's just, I think, very lucky to have Matt as a teammate. That's one thing that I'll miss is being able to depend on that strategy side of things, but from Matt. But he's a guy that I think, as long as he invests his time into the league, I think he'll improve more than anybody this season.
Very cool. Real says he's not going to miss it, but he's definitely not. He's definitely going to not miss me messaging him at 3 a.m. like, dude, I think we should do this for tire strategy this week, and sending him a novel of like my 50 laps that I ran or whatever. So,
Mute
so good.
mute notifications and you're solid.
All right. Yeah, maybe check him the week of. Holy shit, Matt ran 700 laps and he has it all broken out in the spreadsheet. All right. Season 4 Mercedes duo of David and Hayden. That's another returning team. I said there was one returning team, but I lied. This is a returning team as well. Just signed with Haas, which is very cool. David, you continue as a team principal, and you stuck it out with Hayden, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, obviously from the beginning of the league, pretty much, Tyler and I have always talked about kind of linking up, and once again, another off season, we kind of almost did, and then ended up not working out. So, gosh, stop drooling on me, dude. I went right back to Hayden. It wasn't really a question. I think we were the first team announced this season, and I'm excited. I mean, we we know that we're trying to avoid elimination is the first goal. That's kind of where we were last year and barely avoided it. Um, I think I've put in a little bit more work. I think I can be a little bit more consistent for us this year. Hayden was on running laps the other night, and I always talk about this, but people are too soon to forget that Hayden, if he's practicing, is the faster driver on our team. I mean, if we're both really, really trying. He is just a little bit better at the game, in my opinion. And so, like, he's like definitely right around me and eventually faster than me if he's practicing enough. And so, I think we're kind of a strange team because we're avoiding elimination, but it's like if Hayden just gets in the seat and like gets, and it's just, as we talked about, life kind of happens and he doesn't have as much time. But if he ends up getting more time to practice this year and has a chance to grind a little bit, I mean, we could at least be up in the mid pack, which is a great jump for us from last year.
Hayden's definitely one of those guys that uh, don't look at the recent performances and think that he's just a bottom of the barrel type of guy because just a few seasons ago he was literally the guy when I talked about picking somebody to kind of make your own rival to compete against. He was that guy for me, and we were constantly battling for top five spots. So he's definitely capable of doing very well and being a guy that can also surprise a lot of people this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I was worried with the time off last year and things like this. It's a very hard game just to get back in a rhythm of. It's hard to get back to driving when you haven't in quite a while. And he raced with us the other night, and he was definitely didn't have the pace because he really hadn't raced in a whole season pretty much, and he didn't have the pace, but it truly wasn't the drop off I was expecting. I mean, he was finishing right behind us, and he said he had a couple rough spots where he would go off or whatever, but for the most part, it was like, he was finishing 2 seconds behind me or something like that. That's not bad.
Yeah. No doubt. All right, last but not least, again, Aston Martin, no changes, so not a lot really to bring up there, but
Defending champs.
they are the defending champions, and they're going to continue to make waves. So let's jump right in. We're about like 40 minutes in, so we're doing pretty good on time, guys. We're 41 minutes as I
Cool.
say that, so we're doing pretty well here. Again, we're going to try and keep these under an hour for you guys because I know that's kind of like the sweet spot. So we're going to talk about the tier rankings for the teams. We kind of have it broken down here. I'm actually going to start at the bottom, I think, and work my way up, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Okay?
I'll jump in real quick.
Yeah.
So what we have these broken out to is essentially, just like in real F1, we always talk about, Red Bull and AlphaTauri certainly aren't battling throughout the season. That's not really who you're fighting. Our grid kind of takes on a similar shape to that. I mean, there's just going to be better teams than others. It's just how it shakes out. So we kind of broke these up into three different tiers, and we're going to start with the tier three, which is who we think is going to all be battling each other to avoid obviously that last elimination spot. You'll have tier two, which is our middle group. That's the middle of the pack, so to speak. And then tier one is anybody that we think may have a legit chance to win the championship.
All right. Very good. So with that, I'll talk about tier three, which is where Ferrari lands, which is my team. Alpine is in there as well, and Red Bull, and we have Haas in there, which I think Haas is kind of the team that's right in the middle between they're like tier 2.5 ish. So that's the like David said, that's kind of the back of the pack. Again, if one of those teams jumps out and grabs like 8 to 10 points in the first race, they're gonna be in pretty good spots, I would say, looking forward as we run through the calendar there. But there's a lot of good drivers even in this back of the pack. I think my biggest point that I see, and again, this is probably super offensive to drivers in the past seasons, and I don't really care, but you can't look at these last 8 names that we have on here and be like, oh yeah, these people are never getting a point this season, right? Um, there was definitely years past where you could be like, oh yeah, there's no chance this person's not scoring a single point, like unless something catastrophic happens, you know what I mean? There's not really a single driver on here where you're not like, yeah, they can score some points this year. So that's pretty awesome. And the other thing is there's a lot of like personal battles to have. Like I'm sure you and I are going to be side by side most of the year, so get comfy. Looking at the back of the Ferrari. So there's a lot of good battles. Like I want to say it was Real who mentioned this is like to have a personal goal. Like if you're whoever and you're like, well, dude, I'm just finishing like 14th or 15th every race. Well, find out who's finishing like 12th to 16th, and that's your target, right? And
Yep.
that's your rival for the year. And try and outperform them because that's what it's all about is those battles. Like none of these guys in the real F1 cars, like Logan Sargent is like, fuck it, I'm going to take Max Verstappen, I'm going to beat him this week, right? He's probably like, you
Yeah,
know what, dude, if I get 10th place, that's pretty sick. So
yep.
I think it's important to be realistic about that. And when we look at these tiers, they're going to make some sense as to who you're
Yeah.
battling with throughout the year.
Yeah, and just really quick to your point, on tier three, it's like there's a handful of good drivers right there that could be battling almost anywhere in the grid on any given week, and it just goes to show you. I think we've had talented grids in the past. I don't think we've ever had a grid maybe this deep in the past
Yeah,
with five rookies. I mean, really, we have four rookies because Pete's not a rookie. Besides the new rookies, and even I've heard Barrett's really fast. I heard Brett's been practicing, so Brett could get good pretty quick. Like it's a very deep grid, and it's like not only are the points not going to come easy. I mean, 14th and 13th aren't going to come easy. It's just a
yeah,
tough grid.
exactly. Really got anything on tier three?
I mean, I'm just looking at the list and just seeing how any one of these teams you could have mixed in with the tier two group, and like David said, they can compete, really with anybody because this is definitely the deepest grid I feel like we've had. I mean, like just ranking myself where I feel like I sit on this grid. I've never felt like I was this far down on it. So,
Same.
it's going to be a tougher year, but I'm excited for that challenge, and I just think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So a lot more closer battles, I feel like, is what we're gonna see.
Yeah, without question, without question. So let's see, tier two here. We got Mercedes, Williams, and AlphaTauri. Boy, that sounds funny to say when I think about it out loud. But Mercedes, Williams, and AlphaTauri there. Again, all interchangeable. I mean, they could move up to tier one. It's this is just the preseason kind of rankings, and no one's going to be surprised where any of these teams finish at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. What I like so much about just doing this list in general is, again, it gives you kind of that idea throughout the season to look at who you're battling with. And this can give you a little bit of an idea, maybe even early on, where, points are going to kind of maybe seem weird because they're a little all over the place for the first couple weeks, but just gives you a couple teams to look out for and just kind of be able to gauge your season as you go.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we will move into the tier one teams, which is the last three remaining teams. You got Aston Martin, the defending champions, Alfa Romeo, and McLaren there. Again, I think I said it to Real maybe before we started airing. It's like, and I think you might have been here too, David. But it's the thing is we've gone seasons past where it's like the top 2 to 3 guys are out and they're just like off in la la land and they're like 15 seconds ahead of like fourth place and fifth place and it's like do like we're just gonna do our own thing and like we'll
Yeah,
see you
yeah.
guys. Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Like we'll see you when the race ends. Haha. I mean those 6 guys could be within 5 seconds of each other the entire race. I don't who knows.
Yes.
And again,
Yes.
don't get me started on the late safety cars, but like that kind of shit really is going to spice stuff up. People are going to make moves. They're going to do things. They're going to run tires too long when they don't want to. Some people are going to undercut. There's all kinds of strategy stuff that goes in, especially when the grid is much tighter. And again, they're going to be
Yep.
feeling the sweat from the guys that are behind them too, because I don't plan on being 15 seconds behind those guys ever either.
Right.
So
Right.
so so they're gonna feel the heat on from plenty of different levels, and it's definitely gonna be interesting to watch how those teams perform. If there's like some strategy stuff that goes into it on holding other people up, whatever it is, it'll be interesting to watch this year as it transpires.
Yeah, it kind of to put this in perspective, I was looking at the power rankings that we were doing a little bit earlier in this off season, and there is about it. So every year there's maybe like a gap for like who's really competing with each other. And what I mean by that is like first place, second place, usually they're pretty fast guys, so they may be separate from everybody else. But if you take third place and you go down as far as you can to the next guy that you think um, could realistically beat that guy in a race, right? So like third place, let's say like Painter's third place. Well, in years past, I might get down to maybe fifth place, sixth place, maybe seventh place, and it's like, okay, that's about all the people that can compete with Painter. Now it's like there's almost a 10 place gap. Like if you're third in the power ranking, anybody back to 13, I think, could almost beat you in a race. Like that's how, and that's fourth goes to, that's how all of them are. Like it's just that big of a gap of guys that are actually within a second of each other.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the tier one teams, I'm just thinking like I'm hoping that Alfa Romeo, uh, I don't want to see somebody like Keaton who has got two championships kind of lay down to Spies if Spies is outperforming him. I really want to see him push himself, and
Yep.
obviously as a competitor, I want to see that. Um, but I think it's going to be hard for him to kind of lay down in any given race and maybe even play defense to help Spies in any situation, just because everyone behind him, like you guys just said, they're so good and so fast. You're not going to be able to really slow down and play too much defense because guys are going to get around you quick. So he's going to have to push himself, and I'm excited for some chaos because these guys are so close together that I just think we're going to see more and more chaos, especially at the top. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I need I
Yep.
need Nico Rosberg versus Lewis Hamilton. That's what I need. I don't need
Yeah.
Max Verstappen
Yes.
versus Checo Perez. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what I need from my life, and I hope these guys, I hope they don't phone it in. I don't. The deal is, I don't think you can phone it in because number one, pride hopefully takes over at some point, and number
Yep.
two, like the people behind you are gonna fucking pass you if you slow down. That's the end of the story, dude.
Yep.
I'm not gonna be like, oh well, I'm just gonna let you stay here in second place. Like we're going around you, dude. That's the end of the story. So
Yep.
so I hope that's how that goes. So you guys got anything else on the constructors tier rankings before we get ready to wrap it up here?
That's all I have there.
Okay.
Yep, Sam, I'm good.
All right, cool. Well, Real, you're going to be on deck here. I'm going to give David a shout to start us off with one singular hot take to start off the season. We're going to probably do something like this. One thing I did want to hint on, actually, no, I'll save it. But the hot takes, we'll probably do every pod. So, David, I'm going to start you off, and Real, you're on deck.
I'm going very, very, very spicy right off the bat. It's the first podcast of the year. I'm gonna go with a really hot take. I have a dark horse to win the championship this year.
Okay.
This is a guy who I'm gonna give you a quick background for you.
The Drivers' Championship,
This is
yes?
Drivers Championship.
Okay.
This is a guy who in season two scored 41 points.
Okay.
Season three, he scored 57 points. Season four, he scored 103 and had absolutely zero DNFs on a full length season last year. I think Doug, with the pace I've seen this offseason, has a very real chance to not only outpace Matthew Painter this year, but win the Drivers' Championship.
Let's go. Beautiful. All right, Austin Real, you're up.
No, you're putting no pressure on me to have to beat this rival. I'm hoping he's not that high up. I am ready for mine is not nearly as spicy. But when we were kind of coming up with the consensus ranking of the power rankings for the drivers, one common thing was our top four it was all the same. It started to break apart after that, but our top four guys were pretty much the exact same list, and that being Tyler, Keaton, Spies, and Painter. Um, I I guess my hot take would be that they will not be the top four when the season's over. There's going to be a name, there might be two names, but there's going to be a couple guys that are on this grid that by the end of the year we're going to have a new top four, and those guys are going to sneak in and take someone's spot.
Give
Okay.
us one name. You got to give us one name at least.
I would say if Rishko is able to be there, Rishko's a guy. He's kind of an easy name that I could definitely see in the top four. From what I've heard, you've got Pete, who's obviously got the speed. Um, but I would say, for a hot take purposes, I would say Adam Brills would be the guy that
No.
I think he kind of turned it up last season at the end.
Yep.
He's got the speed and ability that I think he could be a top four guy.
All right.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, I'm going to fire one out, and this one's going to be probably scalding hot. Everybody's consensus number one constructors team is who?
Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo. Okay. Everyone says they're going to win the champion.
Hold on. Alfa Romeo.
Everyone says they're going to win the constructors championship, right? They're probably like negative 225 on the betting odds, right? For me,
Yep.
there's no way they're going to win the constructors championship this year. Too much pressure.
Yep.
They're going to be battling like they've never battled before. There's no way they're going to buckle, both of them. I guarantee it. I'm putting the fucking hot take stamp on it right now. Uh, and
Sell.
and to put a name out there, because I wasn't going to do it, but I think I'm going to anyways, and put more pressure on this team. And it's pretty nice because Real kind of teed it up for me. I'm going to take
Love this.
Adam Brills and Pete Norris, McLaren, to win the Constructors
Nice.
Championship this year. And a lot of it's consistency. A lot of it is Brills' familiarity with the league, and Pete's consistency. He just runs races, whether it's in Forza, whether it's whatever else he's doing. He's out there running laps. So I think the pressure definitely gets to some of these guys at the top, and Pete's first year. He's gonna surprise some people, and Brills definitely has the pace, like Real said. So that is my scalding hot take.
And guys, I know what you're thinking. Obviously, we're not going to let an all-Canadian team win the constructors. We'll come up with some kind of rule by then
Yeah,
that won't
yeah.
allow
Don't worry about it. We'll edit this part out later. Uh,
that.
anyway, you guys got anything else before I kind of do one last little shot and then wrap it up?
I'm good. I'm ready for Bahrain.
Dude's ready for Bahrain. Okay.
Yep, I'm off to Alaska for the next week, so as soon as I'm back, it's time to start grinding
He
and
does
preparing.
this. He does this every year to prepare. He
It's.
lives in the wilderness by
I was
himself.
just gonna say it's a
Yep.
darkness retreat, so
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. He's gonna come back with a bear that he killed with his bare hands, and he'll be ready for the season.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness. So
If
that's awesome.
anybody knows Yuri Prohaska from UFC, I'm about to put myself in a cave, a dark cave, probably with a bear, and I'll be in there for the next 5 days. So, wish me luck.
Very nice. We'll come back in one piece for sure. Everybody, thanks for taking the time to listen to the pod today. Again, it's going to be like right around an hour once we wrap this up. We'll chop it up. We'll put it on YouTube. It'll be linked in the channel here. We have 13 days from this very second, so we'll have 12 days tomorrow until Bahrain. So make sure you're getting practice in on that. One thing I did want to touch on is if you remember the higher or lower the game we used to play, the over unders. I'm going to do something similar to that every week. We're still working on some details.
Day morning.
Yeah,
Day morning.
on race day morning to build up a little bit of hype and all that jazz. We'll do some like buy sell things like that, and at the end of the year there'll be probably maybe a little prize I can ship your way, or if we have like an end of the year party or something like that, I'll be able to hand it to you in person. So we're gonna bring those back because I know for the most part it got really good feedback, and I like doing them if people are engaging with them. So make sure to vote on those. Um, One last thing to touch on, like Real said a couple times too, if you got any suggestions, whether it's to the pod, whether it's to the league, whether it's to whatever, just feel free to shoot them to us. You can DM them, you can post them in public. I don't care how you do it. Get it out to us. And I wanted to shout out the one singular person who's on F123 right now, and that's Barrett Powers. So you have made my list of people to look out for too. So Barrett's online. If you guys aren't racing, if you haven't figured out how to turn your Xbox or your PlayStation or your PC on, I suggest you get familiar with that within the next couple weeks. We're going to get out of here for now. Thanks again, David and Austin, for taking the time out to do this. It's been a blast. We'll see you guys on the next one.